Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. I'm in the middle of eating Skittles, which is probably not a good thing right before I was going to talk.
That is not
Anyway.
proper behavior.
Check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Go find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Hive. I think that's everything I'm supposed to say. And we're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Yay.
Yeah, don't eat juicy, fruity candies right before you're about to talk.
Like ever?
Well, because now I'm over here, which is not professional at all. But
trust me, no one's ever accused you of being professional.
Not at this job. All right, buddies. We've got a lot to talk about today.
I don't think we had that much to talk about.
We do. It didn't seem like it because it's just 4 or 5 movies, but each one, except for one, is part 2 of something or a franchise. Yeah. They're all a part 2 of something or a remake or re-envision, reimagine, whatever you want to call it. I need to move that thing down there. Anyways, let's see. Where do we want to start, my friend? Do you care? There's a lot happening.
I don't care.
Probably
start with the smaller ones first, and then move up to the.
You want to start? Let's start with this
because we've got.
Oh, there's 2 that aren't.
2, yeah. We want to do the 2 that aren't first.
Okay, let's start here. Let me share my screen with y'all so you can see what we're talking about. We are talking about the movie Moving On, starring best friends, it seems like, Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. They were together in the TV show that just recently ended, right? What was it?
Grace and Frankie.
Grace and Frankie. It was several seasons of fun and hilarity. And now they're doing movies together because, best friends. It's so funny. We were talking about something, and my dad was like, oh, yeah, they're always like this. So that's an international symbol of among our Spanish friends of best friends.
Oh, they're doing that now, too?
Yeah. But they were just saying about these 2 people that they're always together like best friends. So it's a real thing. Anyways, we do it a lot, but it's for real.
Yeah, but we do it because of
the show where they were best friends. Eugenio
Derbez.
Yes.
Because on that show with Rob Schneider. Well, we
best
did
friends. All right. Let's talk about the movie Moving On.
All right.
So, what is it about? Tell us for the masses.
Sorry. Man, my hair is worse today than usual. I just woke up. Sorry. So we just came off the movie 80 for Brady that they did together. And then, of course, Jane Fonda had the new book club movie without Lily Tomlin. But this one's one of those that kind of came along. I think it was originally promoted either during the pandemic or after. I don't remember, but kind of seemed to come and go pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But the premise is some lady passes away, and then these 2 ladies who are friends, acquaintances, or used to be really good friends, both show up at the funeral with Jane Fonda planning, and it's in the trailer, so this is not really a spoiler. The husband, played by Malcolm McDowell, she basically just shows up. It's like within the first few minutes of the movie, shows up. Everybody's doing the greetings and giving their condolences. She just basically says, "I'm going to kill you today," and hence starts the journey of what's going on. And to my surprise, this movie is not it's not a lighthearted movie. It's more of a dark comedy, but it's got some heavy drama in it too. So it wasn't the movie I thought we were going to get.
No, not all.
You just kind of got used to their silliness, but it is kind of like Grace and Frankie with a little darker tone.
It's very dark.
Grace and Frankie was funny, but it wasn't slapsticky.
Right. It's much darker, but there are some funny moments.
Yeah, very much so.
And I thought, well, of course we know they work well together, but I thought it was interesting this time that, it's not the fast comedy of Grace and Frankie. This one's much more mellow. It's slow. It's very thoughtful and pensive, and it is darker. And we're dealing with actually some pretty heavy subject matter that you start to unravel throughout. And, I feel like, one of them, you expect the funny one to be Lily Tomlin, which she is, but even so, it's kind of sad. Her whole story, what's going on with her life.
She's not as chaotic.
Not at all.
Because she does play characters a lot of times because she's so quick-witted in real life that she usually plays like the eccentric, over the top, crazy,
Sorry. My nose is
kind of goofball.
Yeah.
And here she's actually pretty toned down. I think she plays a little more of her real self. You know, not the comedy aspect, because I mean, Lily Tomlin was a big stand-up comic back in the day.
I feel like though too with this character, like her character's at the point where she's feeling beat down in life, just with everything that's happened to her recently. She's just feeling like blah.
Well, the whole movie
And-
is these two people are dealing with a variation of PTSD from past circumstances,
Yep.
whether it's something that happened to them, something that happened because they were involved, something that was missed or changed or whatever. It's a lifelong emotional effect of led us to this point, and probably not overly hard. Are you trying to solve the puzzle again?
Yeah, because I just realized I thought that was right, but those are different patterns than that.
Yeah, I
It's
know
this
that.
one.
That
one's
was
wrong.
Yeah. So anyway,
Sorry.
the only one that I cared about was the circle one that you keep messing up,
I'm sorry.
and it's not right anymore either because of this. So just leave it alone.
I was gonna
don't
be
mess
that
with
guy.
nice things.
Okay.
Anyway, it's not overly hard to kind of figure out what is the issue as you start watching. We're not going to
Yeah.
say it.
It comes
It
out.
is a touchy subject matter. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. But it's well handled, and I found I actually think the movie worked better than I thought it was going to in what the movie ended up being. Because like I said, I thought I was going to go into another 80 for Brady book club-ish funny film.
Not
and
at all.
It's darker, it's funny, and it's heartfelt, it's sad.
It is sad at times.
It does have kind of an abrupt ending, but that's really the only ending it could have.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they went with.
Yeah. So it was fun. If it's around you anywhere, where would I see this? Look, I have it right
It
here.
is available now on the Blu-ray and DVD.
Go get one. It's actually okay.
I enjoyed it. It was good. You have to like them too. If you don't like either one of them,
Correct.
then I know
gonna be
people have their
difficult.
issues with Jane Fonda. I'm not going to go
I
into all
don't know
that
why
again.
we're still on that.
Most of the people that have their issues on them have never gone and listened to her actually talk about the actual scenarios and situations, and she's just done some more recent interviews going back and telling what really happened and what she did, and she wasn't wrong. Maybe she handled it wrong at the way she did it and whatever opinion, but some people, I mean, especially my senior people that lived, my senior class, people that lived through the time, they hold a grudge big time, man. And it's just, so if you hate her, you're not going to like the movie because she's probably the more of the star than than Lily Tomlin.
For sure.
I will say that I kind of dig her hair like this.
Yeah.
I think it looks better. This is also the first time she didn't really come off like that elegant version of her that she's
trying to
over
glamorize.
Yeah, which she
with
seems
the
to play that
wigs
character a lot.
and the makeup and all that. She looks just like a normal older woman. I liked it.
She seems to play that glamour version a lot all the time now.
Yeah.
But she's 80 now, so at some point
I mean, that's okay.
No, I didn't say it's bad. I'm just saying you gotta let it go, man.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Anyway,
moving on. You want to go here?
Sure, whatever you say.
All right. Tell me about this one.
All right. The next one is a movie called One Day as a Lion. Rawr. Starring Scott Conn, J.K. Simmons, Frank Grillo.
Yep.
Excuse me. My Lord have mercy.
Hey, you need to stop that.
It's also written by Scott Conn. Excuse me. It's a story of a guy who's a hitman, I guess. He's supposed to go kill somebody for money, but the bigger picture is it's because he's trying to get somebody because his son was arrested. He's trying to get him out of jail. And he gets caught up in a wave of wacky characters and stories, and so it felt to me very much like kind of a Quentin Tarantino-esque constructed story, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because it's very quirky.
Yeah.
It is emotional and heartfelt. You can feel the dynamics of him and his son. Whatever's happening with the mother of the kid. Then there's this whole other lady. Then there's this whole J.K. Simmons story.
Yeah, so he's
and the Frank Grillo story.
Well, that's telling
all
you how
kind
he
of
gets
happening
there.
at the same time.
He ends up teamed up with this waitress from this diner, and then she has her own story, and so it's kind of a crime saga. It's a little bit of a comedy. It's I don't want to say action, but it's just in that vibe of life of There's some Stockholm syndrome mentality at some point. There's some
craziness.
unexpected relationships. It's just really, it's strange, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it. It was weird in a way, you know.
And these are the kind of movies when they come straight to video that you see the box, you see it's some fairly well-known celebrities, and you're like, it's probably gonna end. There's a reason it came to video, and some people might not connect to this movie. I kind of went in the same way. I got it. And I'll be perfectly honest. I wanted to see it because I like everybody involved, but it wasn't on my primary priority to I got to watch this now until they reached out and says, hey, don't forget this comes out. I'm like, oh crap, we got to watch this.
We got to watch it now.
So we kind of sat down and watched it out of necessity because I needed to get it done. So it was kind of a just throw it in. Let's get this over and watch this. And I was like, hey, this movie's actually kind of fun. You know,
it does kind of draw you in because everybody, there's something like weird or eccentric about every single character.
Yeah.
You know, and they do each have their own story going on that all kind of come together. And everybody's just weird. I think that's what I like.
And it's not weird like Napoleon Dynamite weird. No. It's just
they're quirky.
It's like his character is trying to kill
like
somebody.
A quirky hitman.
And he's kind of aggressive, but he's also super polite.
He's super polite. He's like, yeah, I really don't want to do this. I'm sorry, but you understand. You know, kind of that.
And they shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Frank Grillo's character is probably the only normal-ish person because when you see him, he's really just yelling at everybody about what they messed up. J.K. Simmons is very lack of emotions. He's just very straightforward. He's just very, you know,
he drives a horse.
Yeah, it's like he shows up. Because it's funny because he's like, the movie starts off and this guy's waiting for somebody, and he shows up at the diner on a horse, and he's like, "This guy's on a horse."
But then I'm thinking that's normal here. I see people at Waterburg on a horse in the drive-through because it's technically a vehicle. I think
it is. You're making it sound like we live in the hills.
We don't. We live in Dallas, Texas. That's normal
here.
Tell
people now they're going to find this great.
Oh Lord, I'll erase that.
No,
from the video.
It's an interesting. It's interesting. Just one of those little interesting films. I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns, so I don't want to say anything.
We can't tell you everything.
It. If you like anybody involved, it's fun. Like I will say too, Scott Caan's one of those actors that he's always got a swagger about him because he's just like his dad. He carries himself with that kind of almost like an attitude and a swagger, but he seems to be a little less guarded in this movie. Because normally he's very kind of standoffish vibe, if that makes sense. Not in a bad way. He just always seems to be very New York, very.
Maybe because he wrote it himself.
Well, but this character too just seems
trying to be something different finally.
Yeah, because I did see an interview with him recently where he talked about, he was on the Hawaii Five-0 show for so long. He's like doing that show. The downside of doing that show, he couldn't do anything else. He had no time to do movies or anything else, and he's like he loved it. But there's something about when the acting side of it.
Well, and it's hard too if you're having to be in Hawaii all week, and then you want to try to do something.
Well, he said the issue really wasn't that. It was like when you're on a show that long, it's eventually like you're just doing the same thing over and over. Can you do anything new at this point? And you're not getting that outlet. He's like, he's not complaining that he had a hit show and then he was on working full time in Hawaii. It was just like he wasn't able to do any other characters or every character. And now he's getting offered just police characters and.
Oh yeah, that other show that came out.
Yeah, so this felt different for him, even though he's.
Is that show coming back?
I don't know. That missing alert. Anyway, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. I mean, it's nothing
but
breaking
it's
down the
different that it was
walls
good.
Of drama or action or anything, but it does have a little bit of an abrupt ending as well, where it just seems to be kind of over.
Yeah, but you kind of assume what happens next.
Yeah. It's one of those. It's an enjoyable watch. It's nothing.
It's fun.
Nothing that's going to be like, man, this movie's awesome or excellent. It's one.
But if you want something different, there you go.
Yet familiar.
Yeah, but good, well acted, very fun. I think at times some of it's funny, and I don't know if it's meant to be, but it's because everybody's so quirky and a little bit off that it's funny.
I'm gonna try some of this weird.
It's really good. Because one of the ladies at church was giving out candies.
My wife brought me something. Of course, I'm not really eating candy right now, but I guess I'm going to try this.
But it's peanut butter, so I thought you could.
Is that what? Yeah, peanut butter with the first ingredients are corn syrup, liquid sugar, sucrose.
It reminded me of the little zebra stripe things that
why.
taste like peanut butter. It tastes just like that.
It can't. It's taffy. It's called the Abba Zaba.
But it tastes like that, is what I'm telling you. Texture-wise, of course, it's different because the other were like little wafer things.
50 calories. That's one thing.
Do you have 50 calories to spare? You worked out.
I haven't worked out yet.
Well, you went to a class. Did
Well,
you not
yeah,
do
but
anything?
I did stuff today. I didn't work out a level.
Okay.
Oh, it
Just
doesn't look anything like that. What are you talking about? It looks like
No, I'm telling you, the taste reminds me of that.
that does not look like peanut butter, my friends.
But taste it. Take one bite. Wow, don't be weird. Just take a bite.
Oh, I hate coffee.
Do you? I thought it was yummy. I like all sorts of candies though. Okay, I don't like the noise you're making. Okay, we're moving on. Let's pick another movie to
It's
talk
all right.
about. Yeah, they're right. They're pretty good. You
I
want to talk
never
about
eat it again.
this? Let's
No.
talk about this one.
That's fine.
Okay.
I will finish it because I grew up poor and you don't waste food.
The new movie that is somewhat controversial and had people giving us angry faces online.
Or
The new movie is White Man Can't Jump. It's available now on
Hulu.
Hulu.
So let me say this. This isn't about the movie itself. I don't understand people that get angry about remakes or sequels or whatever. I understand your lack of interest in it. But the anger that people have for something is basically comes off like you think it's going to somehow destroy the original.
Yeah.
As if the original is no longer available. Now, if we lived in a world where they said, hey, we've just made this new movie and you will no longer have access to ever see the original again.
Okay, that would be
That would
sad.
be angry inducing. But
Yeah.
to be mad because something exists is silly. I'm not saying it's good or bad. Or I'm not saying it's even should exist. That's just ridiculous behavior. That means you need something else in your life to figure out. That being said, I am not a huge fan of some remakes. Some of them I'm actually all for because the movies just were trash and they deserve a new one. White Men Can't Jump is a movie I love, the original. It's
1992.
It's a movie that was on heavy rotation in my world for a long time because I loved it. I think the chemistry between Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson is just great. It's a fun movie.
I just like seeing, was it Rosie Perez
Yes.
trying to win Jeopardy? That to me was just funny because she was like studying and she's like, we're going to win it.
So
We're
do
going to
you
get all
even
the
like
money.
the original movie?
I do like the original. Yeah, I like it. I thought it was fun.
Now, when did you see that movie? Because I know you didn't see it in 92.
I did not see it in 92. I was still
Did
in
you see
high
it when I
school.
showed it to you?
So I've probably seen it, yeah, with us here. I was going to say at the house, but once we were together. Is it peanut butter in the middle? That's what it is.
Look, it looks like a shark.
It's the peanut butter in the middle. Anyways, yeah, I think once we were together, once we were married, is probably when I saw it. And because of you, I've probably seen it at least 3 or 4 times, and it's fun. And if it's on TV, I'll watch it because I find it compelling. It's interesting. It's fun.
That movie also kickstarted a little bit of a team up with those two.
Yeah.
But then they did that Money Train. And
Money Train is good, guys. That's
you know that Money Train gives Jennifer Lopez.
I know. I'm on a Jennifer Lopez kick this year, and so. I just watched it again recently, probably a month or so ago. That is a really fun movie. So
here we are with a remake.
So here is the remake and or reimagining or just another story.
Sorry, I got taffy stuck in my
And it's Sinqua Walls and Jack Harlow. And you want to watch this because we have an appearance by Lance Reddick.
Oh yes, the late Lance Reddick from John Wick.
So
and Jack Harlow, for those who know, you probably don't even know this. Jack Harlow's a rapper.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
I know nothing about his music. I know his existence, and even more so I know him because he was just recently on an episode of Dave.
No.
Dave is awesome. If you ever watched it, about Little Dicky. Anyway, the movie is directed by, I think the person's name is Climactic.
The director?
Yes.
Climactic, yes.
It's the same person that directed the recent remake of House Party. Which is, again...
Okay, that I understand the vibe then.
Yeah. So here's my thing on these movies. House Party, I didn't mind of its existence. The movie was okay at best, but there was already 5 other sequels. So that movie felt like just another entry into that franchise.
Yeah.
Did I care anything about the movie? Is it a movie that I think is any better than any of the other sequels? Yes, it is better than some of the other sequels. It's not better than the original. But that movie series only had a franchise. There was 5, 6 of those movies already.
Yeah.
So do I care that movie existed? No. This one, to me, falls in that same category. It's not a remake in the sense that these are the same 2 characters. This is the same storyline. It's really just in title and idea.
In name alone.
Yeah, so this could have easily been something like White Man Can't Jump LA or
Yeah.
championship, something or other, because
Yeah.
the tone of the story is similar.
Yeah, it's two guys that team up to try to hustle and make a lot of money because
Yeah,
they're both having hard
because
times.
in the original movie,
Same thing ish.
you find out about their hustle right off the bat.
Yeah.
They're already together. They're already working together.
Yeah,
They're
this
already,
is them coming together.
yeah,
this
could have easily been a
guys.
prequel to them if they wanted to. They could have easily set this whole thing up and said, this is them two younger, and this is how they met. And this started off, which I honestly thought maybe that's where we were going at first. 'Cause I didn't pay attention to the names at first. And when they met the first time, obviously it didn't feel right for the time period to say this is back then. But I was like, oh, okay, these two guys are meeting for the first time. We're learning about this one character's history and why he's not a professional player, and we're learning this other guy and where he came from. So it could have easily been, hey, this is how they hook up, and then it ends with them going out and starting to hustle people, right? But it doesn't. It's a completely different story. It's a completely different set of characters.
Yeah.
There are moments where you can tell they're trying to capture the same idea of, where the one guy doesn't dress like he knows how to play basketball. He's kind of a chump looking. He's kind of goofy. There's moments like where they get in a fight with people during a game, and the guy goes to car get his gun. In this case, they come back with a flamethrower instead of a gun, and then there's a tournament that they're going to play in. So there's all the same idea of the story. There's the girlfriend that's trying to find something. In this case, she's not as goofy. This is also reminded more of like the Bel Air series in comparison to Fresh Prince of Bel Air. It is funny, but it's a little more serious tone.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good comparison. Anyways, I liked it. I thought it was enjoyable because it wasn't trying to directly redo the original.
Yeah.
Because that to me, sometimes it's like, well, why? We don't need it. But this one was its own story, similar but different. So I liked it. And I thought these two guys were great. I think they worked well together.
I'll tell you now, I went into it expecting to give this horribly negative review.
Agreed.
I was going to be all like, these guys.
Wow, babe, you can't do that on our show.
I don't know.
I have to do a blur on you.
I gotta stop eating this happy now.
But did you like it?
Well, I mean, it was fine. It wasn't gross.
But doesn't it taste like those little square things?
Right as much.
I thought it was good.
Without the joy of crunch, instead of like glue.
Oh, well. Anyways,
that's what that looks like.
The new White Men Can Jump is available now on Hulu. Where can I watch the original?
Oh, I'm not done with my thought.
Oh, I want to find the original one.
I just thought because I took too big of a bite of taffy. No, it's one of those movies I expected to hate. I expected to hate the cast. I don't know why. I don't know anything about Jack Harlow, and I was just angry at him. But I walked away from the movie like the movie wasn't bad. And it was enjoyable. If the other White Man Jump movie didn't exist, I would have enjoyed this movie more. Being able to separate them into two separate things, I'm fine with it. Would I ever watch this one again? Probably not.
No.
I would watch the other one numerous times. It just makes it a better movie, but it's a different movie.
Yeah.
So.
And guys, the original White Man Can't Jump is also available on the Hulu. So you can watch them back to back. How about that?
We were going to, we just didn't.
We ran out of time. But anyways, they're both available on Hulu. Go check it out. And
for being something that's on the Hulu, I think it works better because it doesn't feel like I would have never gone to see this at the theater. So being something on Hulu, I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a chance. And we watched it on Hulu. They didn't send me a copy or anything else. We sat down and chose to watch it, and it is what it is. So if you want to give it a chance, cool. If you don't be mad about it. Just don't watch it. Watch the original.
All right.
If you're somebody that hates the original, then watch this and see if maybe I like this one. If you don't want to watch them all, then don't watch it. Go back to whatever The Bachelor or whatever the crap you're watching.
All right. We're moving on. Moving on, friends.
Excuse me.
Now to this crazy movie, Buddy Games Spring Awakening, which is essentially part 2.
All right. So this is one of those movies that the original came out in 2019.
Here's the original.
No. Yes. Yeah. 2019. And I saw this movie in the theaters. I didn't remember you ever seeing it, but you said you did.
I saw it here. I saw it at the house.
Did you?
I didn't see it
maybe I rewatched it when I got it or something.
Maybe.
But anyway, so it was, I remember it being funny. Revisiting it, I still enjoyed it. It wasn't the greatest comedy. It was just kind of silly and fun. But it definitely wasn't one that I thought needed a sequel.
Correct.
But when the other one got announced, I was like, wait, what? Kind of came out of left field. Both of them are directed by Josh Duhamel and star Josh Duhamel. So here we are. Nonetheless, I didn't think the first one would have done well enough to warrant a sequel because it wasn't a massive hit to my knowledge. But I also know this one only did like a limited run in the theaters coming up, and I think it's hitting like digital or something like the first week of June. So it's like it's gonna like 2 weeks in the theaters, and then it's gonna jump
Oh,
to
okay,
digital or
cool.
something.
It'll probably do well on digital.
Yeah, it might.
For
And maybe
people that
maybe it did
like that first one.
better in 2019 because we walked into the pandemic, and then
True.
maybe
There's
people
nothing
found
else
it
to
because I love
watch.
the cast. The cast are funny. The new one, the Spring Awake. My concern with it is when you're doing a story that's so specifically focused, whereas the first one, yes, there's stuff around, but it's all focused on the buddy games, obviously. Are we just going to rehash the same thing with the buddy games again? And which is fine, but it's like that movie Tag.
Yes.
You know, that movie's a great. It's a
that
great
movie was fun.
and it has a history based on a true story. But if they make Tag 2, it's just going to be them playing freaking tag.
Yeah,
and it
I don't
loses
think you can
spark.
have a part 2 of that.
Well, that's why I didn't think we could have a part 2 of this. Yet here we are. Thankfully, the new one, while it does deal with the buddy games, it almost serves as a prequel, kind of past history story of the buddy games, as well as some new stuff, and not necessarily the buddy games. Buddy games about this much of this movie, where the first movie was
Yeah.
a big chunk. I actually enjoyed the new one. It wasn't. I don't think it's near as good as the first one.
I agree. We finished it, and I was like, that was good. I still like the first one.
Yeah.
You know, this one's fine. Like you said, it gives us a little history on them and being together and creating the games, and then kind of now as they're older, and seeing what's happened and kind of finding a spot where they all kind of not end, but where they're comfortable with what's happened in life.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot's happening in this. I mean,
but I think what makes this movie work more than it doesn't, because not all the jokes hit well. It's
some
clunky.
of it's a little forced.
Yeah, it is. It's clunky at times. They do something is meant to be really funny, and you're just kind of like, huh. You know, it doesn't really connect, or you just like kind of watch it and let it happen and move on. Kind of a lot of the things that felt about Book Club too.
Yes.
Whereas what makes this movie work is all these guys look like they're having a blast.
Yeah.
And they look like they're friends, and they look like they're enjoying what's going on, and so you believe they're friends in this movie. But not everything works. Just like in real life, I might crack some joke that I think is hilarious, or like you laugh at yourself all the time.
Oh, I think I'm funny. I should do stand up.
And that's why she shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because she thinks she should.
It would just be fart jokes.
You don't even have any good fart jokes.
Yeah, I do.
Give the audience one good fart joke.
Well, see, it's not a joke, it's a story. I have to tell a story about
Well, hold on, buddy games. We're gonna hear a fart story from my lady.
Gassy. Like the other night, it's not funny, but
then you've already canceled out the whole discussion we're having.
I think it's funny, like when you sneeze and fart at the same time, because that happened to me the other day.
And this is why she's an accountant.
All
right.
Anyways, so the new buddy games, Spring Awakening, it's fun.
I like that you went into a non-fart joke and then you just stopped reviewing.
I think it's fun. There are fart jokes in this one. No, the fart jokes in the first one. That one's hilarious. There's not a fart joke in this one, I don't think.
No, that's
too bad. That's why it wasn't as good. There's no
the things that baffle me more than anything and make me wonder is like they brought everybody back with the exception of Olivia Munn, which makes sense for her not to return.
Yes, how that ended.
I couldn't at first. I didn't know. I don't know why she wouldn't come back. You know what happened?
Until we rewatched it.
It'd been so long since I watched the movie. I forgot what happened to her at the end. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. She shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But then Dax Shepard didn't come back. And the movie still revolves around his character.
He's very busy playing Catan.
But it made me. Then it just makes me wonder in real life, why didn't he come back, or did he not? Was he not interested, or that's how they wrote it? It's you never know.
Let's go find out.
Well, I looked around, I never found anything.
What's his name?
Dax Shepard. I just said that. He may have been like, I've done enough, because his character wasn't as impactful in the first movie anyway. He was the one kind of trying to find his place, and But. So anyway,
doesn't matter.
It is a fun movie. It is enjoyable. It has some great moments. It's average at best.
It's fine.
Of course it's
part of it with that one lady was a little too weird and out there for me. The lady,
the cult stuff.
Yeah,
that stuff was hilarious, but it
went on for too long.
Yes.
That's the thing. You can't. Some jokes are just too long.
Yeah.
Even if you're playing the long game.
And even the punchline to that whole situation was just like, that's it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a sequel to a movie that's funny, but not that funny either. It wasn't a super strong comedy, but the first one does work better.
It works better.
But they tried to use the same formula. And while they did create a movie that it is a fun movie to watch, it's like, why does this movie exist, kind of thing.
It's unnecessary.
So, but you can decide for yourself. If you haven't seen Buddy Games, check it out. If you just like fun comedy, because we don't. I will say we don't get comedies like this enough anymore.
Correct.
That are just zany buddy comedies that are going off the top. Sometimes they push the boundaries of a joke, which I like those kind of movies where they, in the first movie, there's a whole thing where the slapping the scrotum on the dude's face, and it's a small moment, but it's just funny because you're like, oh goodness. I don't remember if this movie had something like that. I think it did.
Yeah.
But it just didn't seem to hit the same. So anyway, it is what it is. Buddy Games Spring Awakening is available in theaters now. I'm thinking it's probably limited release somewhere. And I think on first week of June, I think it hits digital. So just decide for yourself and watch it or don't watch it. We already did.
Okay. Moving on. All right, moving on to the big movie this week.
Are we already there?
We're there.
Oh, wow. We're just churning them out right now, aren't we?
We're just going through them here.
Moving right along.
Okay, friends. We are now Fast and Furious Part 10 and/or X.
That's right, which means we've watched 10 previous movies, and you're like, wait, that can't be possible.
But it is.
But there's a spin-off movie in Hobbs and Shaw. So
yes.
And we did discuss, is it important to watch Hobbs and Shaw?
All of this, guys. All of this.
Is it important to watch Hobbs and Shaw in the midst of watching the normal Fast and Furious movies? And it is, in fact, because you have your Jason Statham, who we all know came back, is in the trailer. So you got to know where he's at. Why is he here? How do we get back to this point? Do we finally get any kind of, because they never really dealt with the Jason Statham Han situation. And we discussed it back when they teamed up with him in part 17 or whatever. And they were like, why are they working with him? And it's okay that he killed Han and blah, 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 blah. And we get a little bit of that finally. It's not even really resolution. I think we've all just accepted to get over it at this point. But we at least finally get that deal. And now we're on this new story.
Yes. It all matters. You need to watch all of them.
And we did. We did a marathon leading up to it.
So
let me just say,
it's a lot.
I've said this before. I'm not going to do a lot of details, but when the original movie came out, I was not a fan. When the second movie came out, I thought it was okay, but still not a fan. The third movie is the one that kind of started to suck me in, not because it's a great movie. It felt different. I felt like something different was happening. I think at the time, too, my son was discovering, or he'd already went through a phase, and I kind of went through with him with a fan of Little Bow Wow. Now we're seeing Bow Wow. He had done a bunch of movies. He showed up. And then it had that small appearance from Vin Diesel at the end of it as a surprise cameo that connected it back. And I'm like, oh, we're doing something, And so it wasn't until I think it was part 5.
Okay.
Part 5 is when I finally got sucked back in. I'm not sure. You kind of all in weird order over there.
You know what? I was just trying to find a poster that had them all, so they're there.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Hobbs and Shaw is not in the right spot.
No, it's not.
It's okay.
It doesn't matter, guys.
It doesn't. But,
just these are all the movies you need to watch.
But once I saw 5, I kind of got sucked back into the fun of it, and I since have an appreciation for the earlier films, even though I will still argue till I'm blue in the face that the original Fast and Furious, all that is rip off of Point Break.
Correct. They're number one. Yes, absolutely.
It's the exact same movie. Point Break is about people robbing banks. Fast and Furious are robbing tankers or trucks or something.
Yeah.
It's an undercover cop who becomes a surfer. It's an undercover cop who becomes a street racer. He falls in love with the girl that's connected. He falls in love with the girl that's connected. He forms a friendship with the main bad guy. When he doesn't think it's him, he thinks it's a different set of the Asian guys, but in this, or the Nazi surfers. It's the same freaking movie, man. At the end, they fight her, lets him go. And then lets him go. It is the exact same. Keanu Reeves needs to be suing somebody.
I don't think he cared at this point.
I don't think he is. But if they bring Keanu Reeves into this franchise before it's over, he better be playing Johnny Utah. That's his character from Point Break. And bring Gary Busey back. Anyway,
okay.
So before we get into this and this new film, do you have one outside of Fast 10? What is your favorite Fast and Furious movie? Do you even have one?
I think I liked 9 because it kind of brings everyone back in a way. If you haven't seen these, oh my gosh, I don't want to spoiler alert you. But even so, when did part 9 come out? 2007? No.
Been a while.
2021. Okay, so you've had a couple of years to catch up. I think I like part 9. I kind of like Tokyo Drift though. I know when here's the thing. Tokyo Drift in a way you think has nothing to do with anything
Yeah.
until you get kind of further into it. But I liked it in a way because I got a little break of the whole "this about family" thing.
Right.
For
There's no
a little
family
bit.
thing in the
For
part
a
3.
little bit, we get away with it.
That has become a joke.
Is it?
Well, that whole thing has become a meme-inducing
Yeah.
parody of itself. Of this whole, yes, this entire franchise has always been about a family thing of
Yeah.
the family garage, the family of racers, the relationships and the brotherhoods and stuff. And I get that, but the fact that it has gotten annoying over the last few movies that constantly mi familia, our family, blah blah blah. And what I loved about one thing I liked about the new movie. Well, I'll tell you in a second. Finish what you were saying. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like Tokyo Drift. I 1 is okay. Part 2 is when it starts getting better.
You just like Eva Mendes.
I do love me some Eva Mendes.
Mrs. Gosling.
And then Too Fast and Furious. Oh, Fate of the Furious. Fast 5 is good. 6 was good.
Okay, she likes them all apparently.
I like them all, but I would say part 9 and Tokyo Drift.
One of the things that always irritated me with this franchise, I love these movies now. I think they're fun. They're they're mindless flicks. You just turn off your brain, you grab you a snack, you get in the biggest, the loudest theater, and you just let it happen. And it went from being a simple street racing to a spy action flick to this gigantic tentpole movie that's basically like Mission Impossible movies. It's done the same thing as when Mission Impossible came out. The first one, I hate the first Mission Impossible movie. I like it a little better now, but when it came out, I was like, this movie is just so boring. It's trash. It's not, because it wasn't really an action flick. It was kind of a espionage thriller with action. And as it's grown, it's become how big a stunt can you have for Tom Cruise to do himself?
Yes,
that's what this movies have become, of how big can we make the carnage with cars, and what can we do that's so ridiculously unbelievable that's going to make you cheer? You know, and then with the last one, they went in space, which the one you might say is ridiculously stupid. It is, but it's also believable because I've seen where they had that guy that skydived via the Earth's atmosphere in that same place. He skydived out of that into the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous and unbelievable.
I think that's why I like it, because remember we were talking about, I hadn't seen all the trailers. I'm like, what else is there to do but like Fast and Furious in space? And then we're watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're in space.
But one of the things I love about the new one is they did it in the last one too, where you had made mention at one point about my biggest issue with this franchise is nobody's ever hurt. Like people jumping out of cars at 100 miles an hour, getting run over, getting in fights.
Let me just roll out of this car.
And nobody has a scar. Nobody is injured. Nobody's ever in the hospital except for Dwayne Johnson, because they kind of sidelined him for one movie. And when he finally decides to get in there, he just breaks his cast, so he's suddenly healed. And I agree with you. I'm like, at some point you're just saying, okay, these people are basically superhuman. And they touch on that when Tyrese starts talking about how are we never hurt, man? We must be gods. And
that's why I like it.
It starts poking fun at itself.
It's very self-aware at that point.
Yeah, it's making fun of itself at that point, saying, okay, we know what you're saying. We hear you. We're going to make it as a joke in the movie. And so this one, the other side that's always been ridiculous is everybody that shows up in this franchise eventually becomes a member of the family, or they work with them after they just had to fight with them for an entire movie. And it's like, really, everybody works together now all the time. And there's a moment in here where one guy is like, what is it with this guy? You know, everybody that tries to kill him becomes working with him. And he goes, it's like a cult with cars. And it is. It's like, that's exactly right. So they recognize the ridiculousness of it and bring it up. I will say I enjoyed the new movie.
It does connect to Fast 5. So make sure, if you haven't seen anything, watch Fast 5. I mean, I don't know how you would jump in.
The movie actually opens re-showing the heist sequence from Fast 5, which I found it interesting to use that, because that's when the series took a turn from just street racers into big espionage action thriller. My issue with the new movie, because they do that, and I know why they did this, I understand the respect factor, but I think they've really messed up the franchise by not killing off Paul Walker, because Brian is still alive in the background of this, And I understand Vin Diesel's closeness to us and then want to honor his legacy. I totally get it. But his direct connection to part 5 and involvement, yet he's nowhere to be found in the story. But they brought in Mia, basically said that, well, Brian's protecting the children. It's become ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
I personally think the catalyst here should have been Momoa kills Brian.
Mm,
And they basically, that made everything kickstart. That was how
that would have been really interesting.
because Momoa's character is basically the son of the drug lord they robbed
in Fast
in
Five.
part 5, and they kind of loosely add him into the storyline like he was always there. Pretty clever way, actually, the way they do it in the background, and even he was in one of the cars that I'm glad we got to watch it, because when they show the car he's in, they don't show the driver, they just show the guy with the gun.
Correct. So
So-
it could have worked. I was like, oh, that was smart.
Yeah, it
To
wasn't just.
insert him in there.
It didn't feel like they threw him in, and why would we never saw this guy? You know,
Yeah, no.
that's stupid. He's such a prominent opponent. But
It
I
was
think
smart.
by
They were
leaving
smart about
Brian in the background like this, they're trying to respect his legacy as the actor and as a friend, all this. But it's detrimental to the story of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
which it could have been a very impactful,
Yeah, catalyst.
Element.
Yeah, catalyst. for
especially
the, whole
the
thing.
story, because the whole story is about Jason Momoa vengeance for the murder of his father. So he wants everybody to suffer and pay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fine. I do like that they made it all fit together. The story comes together with 5. It makes sense. How some of these people are still alive does not make sense, but I keep saying that.
Nobody stays dead in this franchise.
But I enjoyed it. But I'm that person that I like these movies. I saw a whole article about how much money it made, and the headlines like, "Why do you people keep watching these?" I'm like, "Because they're entertaining.
They're fun movies.
They're
I mean,
fun."
this is the first movie in the franchise that ends on a cliffhanger.
Yes, which
But that's because they completely knew they were making another one to
Yeah,
kind of wrap it up. And I think the box office was actually not as strong as they thought it was going to be, but it was still strong box office.
yeah, for sure.
Maybe not in comparison to normal Fast and Furious, but it does bigger business in China and Japan than it does
Correct.
here
Where
anyway.
where car racing or street racing's like super cool and all those cars.
And in that case, it's made a lot of money over there already.
It was still number 1 though.
yeah.
so-
I think predictions were going to be 70 million.
And like you said, Vin Diesel is number 1 and number 2
that's right.
in
I
Guardians.
mean, not like pee and poop, but like
no number
yeah.
Fast X.
And his other
Guardians of the
movie, which if
Galaxy.
you're like, what other movie he's got out? He's Groot and Guardians is also about family.
It is.
I was talking to
Yes.
somebody else. I don't know how I didn't think about it. I was talking to somebody the other day about what the hell else does Vin Diesel do other than Fast and Furious movies? And we're like, I said, well, he did some of those. He did Triple X and he did the Riddick stuff. And then he had some random ones like Babylon AD and Witchfinder or whatever that was called.
Yeah, I like that one too.
And some popped
I
up.
like all his stuff.
And then never once I was like, oh, he was also in these little movies called Groot for the last however many years. And the person was asking me, well, he didn't do anything on those movies. He probably
he
recorded
still
once.
gets paid.
I said, no, I guarantee he recorded specifically for each
He
movie.
did.
Because I read one time that it did like 200 different variations. I think my number may be wrong, but something like that of just the I Am Groot line for the first movie, because he had doing different ways he was saying and
emotions and I think he literally goes in there with the script and he's like, okay, this is what's happening, and I think he says it very different ways.
His best movie of all time is still The Iron Giant.
You love Iron Giant.
'Cause
Anyway,
he is the Iron Giant.
but I really enjoyed this movie, you guys. I liked it. I think it's great. I think my one problem is Jason Momoa.
Dude, I thought he was fantastic. He was the best
It's
part
a
of this
lot.
movie.
It's just a lot. I don't want to go where it is, but he's a lot.
He is like the Joker of this movie. He is.
I was expecting
He's my
something
favorite
more
part.
visceral and vicious.
I thought he was the most insane, vicious,
Yes, but
maniacal.
I wasn't expecting maniacal or
crazy.
insane. I was expecting hardcore, like let's kill everyone.
And I think he was. I think everything you wanted is in there and more, because he's for me, and he's been getting tons of praise. Everybody's been talking about how, even if they hated the movie, how much they loved Momoa, because he's having a blast clearly. But he's a character that he's eccentric, he's insane,
eccentric is what I didn't like.
he's weird, and I think it's a case of, he mentions once in the movie about getting hit in the head, and I think it's knocked him off kilter. So he's insane and he's wanting to kill and he's trying to make he feels like the supervillain this franchise is needed.
Everyone likes him on the internet. They're saying it's delicious. that he saved a boring movie. That his over the top thing is what brought it back for people.
Well, and I will say, I kind of
it's
felt
too
the
much
same
for
way.
me.
I felt the same way because one of my biggest issues with this movie, outside of the Paul Walker scenario, is I felt like there was nothing new that they didn't show in the trailers
Yeah.
this time around. Like, we already knew the big. If you watched any of the trailers, you already knew kind of the big stunts. You maybe not known all the cameos or that kind of stuff, which is the fun part too. But you knew all the action pieces. They're longer.
Yes.
But we knew it. Like, you see a snippet of every single action piece in this movie in one trailer.
For sure.
They're just longer, and then you don't know the outcome of how they're going to do them or whatever. So I think he was. It felt like there wasn't as much action. It was a little toned down. It's another case of the team was split up most of the movie.
Yeah.
It works though. I mean, it's
okay. I just had to get into the groove. That's not what I was expecting. From I guess a cartel drug lord. I'm expecting.
He's not a drug lord though. He was just
his dad. What? But I'm just saying.
But if you remember thinking about the way his dad treated him, he was basically kind of just like his dad didn't respect him. He was the guy that just had a lot of money and wanted to be badass.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
The other issue you have to buy into that's I was telling you too that it's annoying. I call it the ninja circumstance, which is everybody they meet is suddenly in the car world or has a hot rod or they want to race for no apparent freaking reason. It makes no sense. But it's just like if you watch a movie with one ninja, suddenly everybody has a ninja.
Yeah.
Or everybody knows karate. Or you just kind of have to accept it.
Yeah.
You know, you watch an American Ninja movie and this one guy who happens to be in a ninja, they just happen to be taking on a whole army of ninjas.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm really waiting to see what the boy thinks. If he likes it and if he likes the character and the way.
He'll like it, but I'm sure he'll have issues with he's already gonna be mad about the cliffhanger and
that's our child.
Yeah. My son is a massive fan. He watches these movies on
over and over.
Regular rotation all the time. He can tell you in and out. So much so that he's not even having a marathon before he goes to see it because he can tell you in and out everything that's what he happened.
The only one I want to watch again is 9. I don't remember everything because it's the one I've seen the least.
Watched it.
I know, but it's the one I've seen because as you watch 1, you watch 1, 2. You watch 1, 2, 3. So I've seen 1 and 2 are so ingrained because that's the one we've seen the most.
Okay.
You know, when you do a marathon.
No, I understand how this works.
So I want to watch 9.
I like what you're trying to tell me.
It's mathematical equations. I want to watch 9 like 5 or 6 times in a row and really get it in there.
I'll watch them all again once the next movie comes out.
I guess, but then I forget everything.
Well, that's the enjoyment for me. Is like I love
watch
movies. They're fun and stuff, but they're not movies I'll sit and just watch.
I will watch it.
There is some unexpected things they did with characters. The after credit scenes. There is one after credit scene that was spoiled by the news and everything else.
So dumb. Y'all stop it.
And I don't know. I mean, I understand why it became news because it is a big deal, especially compared to what has been discussed and what happened.
I know.
But at the same time, I think it's messed up because the whole point is obviously clearly met. It's another case when you watch it, it was clearly designed to say, what? So, but I think it's fun. It'll be interesting to see what direction they go with it. Especially with the way they ended it. It's one of those that there's so many things there that they could do and not do. And then they got some splaining to do now too. And hopefully it can make sense because
it doesn't.
You know, they circle back and explain the Han thing, and I'm like, okay, this actually makes a little more sense. But we all know they retcon that. That was never connected to anything until it did
later.
Well.
Yeah.
Tokyo Drift was not supposed to connect other than Vin Diesel's cameo. And the only reason he did the cameo is because he wanted the right to Riddick back so he can make the third Riddick movie. And he got an executive producer credit for any Fast and Furious movie moving forward.
Nice.
So
I like me some Riddick too.
So, well, Riddick 2 or Riddick as well?
Also, as well.
Well, in theory, we're supposed to be getting Riddick 4 soon, so
yeah. So we'll see what happens.
But anyway, it's fine. If you like the franchise, it's another fun entry, over the top craziness.
There you go.
And it's in theaters now. Fast X-Men.
Wow. Okay. I did like it. Don't think I didn't. I liked it.
So, what is your favorite long-running franchise? So it can be any kind of franchise, and I'm not talking about like don't say Buffy. I'm not talking about TVs. I'm talking about like movie.
Why can't I say
Buffy? And it doesn't matter what genre, just because we were talking about the other how many movies have actually gone past 10 movies, and I don't think a lot of them. But you have the Star Warses and Transformers.
Star Wars is for sure. I think also Star Trek. Because I came in at Next Generation and then went back to the older show.
Oh, that was your first entrance into Star Trek? Not even the other movies first?
Show.
Oh.
No.
I mean, I knew you were a big Next Generation, but I didn't realize that was your actual.
That
first.
was my actual first, like watching the entire thing.
Well, now I want to know what made you want to watch.
Never missed an episode.
What made you want to watch Star Trek Next Generation if you weren't somebody that was already a Star Trek fan when that show came on?
I thought it was interesting. I think honestly, you're gonna hate this answer, but Deanna Troi, because
But you wouldn't have known who she was at the time.
I didn't know who any of these people were.
No, that's what I'm asking you. I think you're misunderstanding my question. It's not why you connected with the show. What made you want to watch that show if you weren't a Star Trek fan to begin with?
I think it's because I don't know. I'm feeling like it might have come on around the same time as Buffy, like the actual physical time on TV.
So maybe it was like after
So
Buffy or before on UPN
or somewhere. Yeah, I'm gonna say what channel did Next Generation come on?
I think it was on UPN, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think around CBS.
Oh, CBS. Okay.
I don't know why.
Because then it wasn't with Buffy, but it might have been on the same time.
I don't know, dude. I don't even know, but I watched an episode.
I don't know why I was thinking UPN because CBS is Paramount and it's Star Trek is
CW.
Paramount.
The other was CW. I don't know why. I just watched it and I was like, this is interesting.
I don't know why we're suddenly talking about Star Trek.
But I'm telling you, because seeing Counselor Troi on the bridge as a woman who could speak other languages and was in tune with that. I mean, you didn't necessarily see a woman on the bridge, right?
I get that part. I think.
And then later I went back and I was like, oh, this is that other show with what's his name? I know him.
I get your connection, what you're saying, connection, what you're watching it. But without knowing that character exists and what character does or anything else, it just
and I know I had
intriguing of why you wanted to even watch that show to begin with. Like for me, my first regular watching of a Star Trek show was Voyager.
Oh, see, that
wasn't because I hated the other ones. I didn't watch series television. I just watched random stuff. So I did watch her too,
because that was Janeway, right?
Yeah, I did watch a random original Star Trek one, but I had seen the movies already. So I was already a fan of science fiction. So I'm like, finally, I'm going to watch.
You come across the original Star Trek show on night.
That's what I'm saying. I'd watch them randomly.
Yeah, I'd watch it randomly.
And I think Next Generation or somewhere around the time that. I think I watched Sequest instead.
Oh, see, I had caught obviously some of the old Star Trek, the original show, on like late at night or whatever. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And I knew who Spock was. So I think when I saw that there was a new show coming on and I could watch it from beginning, I was like, oh, I'm going to watch this.
That makes more sense.
It looks interesting. And I know I had seen the Tribbles, The Trouble with Tribbles, because that's like one of the famous ones. And so then I was like,
and
okay.
To be one of the most famous creative ones when they did the anniversary episodes on Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
And it connected to Trouble with Tribbles and they interlaced all the thing with the old show.
Yeah.
Anyway, we just totally spiraled out of control from Fast X.
When did Buffy come on? So this was 1987. This was 97. Yeah. Where was I? Why would I have watched it?
I don't know. Are you sure you watched it at the beginning or did you jump in later?
I think
on reruns.
Feel like I did. Maybe I didn't.
Maybe it was a UPN on reruns or something, and that's why I'm thinking of it. I don't know.
This might have been around the time that I got my first TV.
Good Lord. Anyway.
I think when I was 12, 13. I don't even know, guys. I got my first TV then. It was a big deal.
Fast X is in theaters now.
Okay. Well, you asked long-standing franchise, Star Trek.
Cool. I think my favorite franchise is still Saw.
Oh, those are good.
I mean, obviously I love Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars nerd, but here's the craziness. As much as I love Star Wars and I click Star Wars stuff, I rarely watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a new show, I'll watch it religiously every week, but I don't just go and watch Star Wars. Like, every so often I'll get a wild hair on my butt and say, I'm going to watch. I at least once a week, I tell myself, I say, you know what? Let's go and watch Empire Strikes Back, or let's watch Rise of Skywalker, or something. Never happens. So
I like that one, even though people didn't like that one.
I like every Star Wars movie and or thing that exists. I can recognize things that don't work. I can recognize stuff that might not be that great.
The prequel trilogies, they're okay, but they're important.
Episode 1 is still my least favorite Star Wars movie of all time, but there's elements about that movie I love. Yeah. So I love that anything Star Wars exists. It is what it is. And if you don't like it, you can.
Is there a Fast and Furious convention, I wonder?
We should start one. I think they do. They've done some things at some of these motor rallies and stuff like this where they seem to show up. I think one of Paul Walker's brothers has some. I don't know if he's a racer or he owns something because I saw something that Vin Diesel showed up at supporting, but it's about racing or something. I don't know.
All right.
I don't care that much.
Just wondering because Star Trek has. I mean, Star Wars has its own things.
We did see Bow Wow's car at Universal.
We did
when we saw that he was from Tokyo Drift.
Correct.
And some of the cars at the Fast and Furious ride at Universal, which is an okay ride. Anyway, so coming up this week, moving on.
Moving on.
We have
Moving
a
on.
plethora of things, but not really. There's a movie called Fist of the Condor coming out. That's Marco Zerrar, which I interviewed him this week. And
And
we're
post
also
a link
gonna
to
be
that
doing some
interview.
giveaways of. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. The movie The Running Man is getting a 4K release, which I actually kind of dig. The Running Man. It's also got a. Have you seen The Running Man?
I don't think so.
Excuse me. That's the one. It's
Bless
kind of like
you.
a futuristic game show. They're trying to kill people, but in the movie, Richard Dawson is the host.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's a great movie. It's not a great movie. It's cheesy.
Unless you don't know who Richard Dawson
Yeah.
is.
Family Feud.
The original Family Feud.
It's a ridiculous movie. It's not one of my favorite Schwarzenegger movies, but I do enjoy it. It's also got Jesse the Body Ventura in it.
Funny.
Anyway, VHS 99, the latest installment of the anthology series, which is great. I love all those movies. Not every story is great, but it's a great little
But the
franchise.
thing itself is great.
Creed 3 is coming out officially on Blu-ray.
Wow, I
4K.
feel like that was a long time ago that it was in the
I
theater.
don't know.
It took forever.
Shazam! Fury of the
Shazam!
Gods is coming out, and Brotherhood of the Wolf is getting a 4K release.
Oh, wow.
But if you've never seen Brotherhood of the Wolf, you're missing out. It's a great
It's
movie.
really good.
But it's a French movie with Martin Dacascos and some other people. I don't care who the rest of the
But
people are.
it's good.
Martin Dacascos is
There's some
awesome.
good action in that.
Yeah,
one.
it's like a monster flick, but it's got martial arts. It's got action.
I feel like it's
it's a
monster
period
flick
piece.
with like the Three Musketeers
yeah,
or
it's a
something.
period piece with
Fighting
monsters.
and
It's a lot of elements.
It's really cool.
I think that one. I don't remember if you introduced it to me or if we just connected on it because we were both fans.
I think we were fans.
It was a thing for a while that we both were like, "This movie is awesome."
It was awesome. We should watch it again.
Well, I
Okay.
was hoping
It's
they'd
been
send me a copy of
forever
it,
since
but
I've seen
if
that.
They don't. I'll just have to watch. We have a copy. This is
Okay,
one of
we'll
the
watch
4K. And then I think that's it. I think everything else is some random. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's all. That's the big stuff.
Coming out online or at the theater. So Monday, tomorrow, the 22nd, coming to Apple TV, Prehistoric Planet 2. It's the next documentary series. What I'm trying to think, it's the next season or whatever, season 2.
It is. It's a season 2.
The whole reason you need to watch this is because Sir David Attenborough is narrating. Why can I not remember any
I know
of
it's
the
written
words?
right there that you're not even. reading it.
Anyways, that's all you need to know.
Not to be confused with Richard Attenborough.
Go watch it. That's all you need to know. Coming out Tuesday.
That's this week.
To HBO Max, or what we're calling now Max, which is their TV thing. Gremlins: Secret of the Mogwai, the series. It's an animated series. It looks super cute. We're gonna have to watch.
And I
that.
believe it has the voices from the original actors come back too. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay, cool. Also coming now to Video Demand and Digital. What we've been waiting for, or I have.
Have we?
John Wick Chapter 4, because now we can just watch them all, just stream them here on our big screen, one after another, and be like, whoo, I'm so tired.
It's only if you buy it.
Okay, well, part 4 made me tired, yo. That was a lot of action. Okay, coming to Netflix is a new documentary called Victim Suspect. It's a journalist that goes and uncovers the stories of women who say they've been sexually assaulted, but
It's easy for you to say.
I know, but people have never actually been arrested or imprisoned for it. And they believe that actually the system is protecting the perpetrator. So it's a really interesting documentary. Please watch it. Okay. Coming to Hulu on Wednesday, it's a new series called The Clearing. It's a psychological thriller about religious cults and what it does. So check that out. Coming to Apple TV, a new series called Platonic. It's
that's
Seth
a new Seth
Rogen
Rogen.
and Rose Byrne, which
I want to
is
see that show.
going to be awesome. Says it's hilarious. I'm there. Okay, coming out Friday in theaters, Kandahar. This is the one with the guy who's the undercover CIA agent, Gerard Butler, and his translator, and they're trying to find their way to get to Kandahar. So
this almost sounds like that movie, The Covenant.
it does.
So I wonder if I need to go look and see.
We'll see.
There's like a lot of stuff I want to see this week.
Also coming to theaters, a movie The Machine.
Oh, I can't wait for this movie.
What is this one?
This is the one. This is what is it? What is the comedian's name? I just went blank. Open up the thing. I don't know what. Bert Kreischer. That's his name.
Okay.
So stand-up comedian Bert
yes.
Kreischer. He tells a story in his stand-up about the time that he basically was tricked into robbing a bank with a Russian mob during some school trip. That supposedly is a true story. He said in the thing, as funny as crazy it is, it's taken on a life of its own. And so this movie is kind of, it's taken that story and then it's the aftermath of now how that circled back to him now. And it's got Burt Kreischer.
I need to go watch the stand-up story of
Yeah,
it.
it's
where
got Burt
he's telling us-
Kreischer. It's got Mark Hamill playing his father in it. It looks fantastic.
So it's funny. So basically, I'm remembering now that you told me that. Suddenly, he was drinking in a bar with some guys. He had been studying Russian in college. They're on the school trip, and he's like, "Yeah." And then they go off to this thing, and suddenly he's involved in this.
Yeah, and they
big
start
heist.
calling him the Machine.
Yeah, it's
That's
funny.
why that all got born.
Coming out to theaters. This is Robert De Niro movie called About My Father.
Oh, I want to see that one too. That's
This looks hilarious.
What's his Maniscalco? Sebastian Maniscalco.
Sebastian, where he's bringing his father, introducing him to the lady's parents that he's going to marry.
It's kind of loosely based
And
on
his
story,
dad's
too.
super Italian and calling them the names, and I'm like, oh, and he's like, you can't say that. He's like, why?
It's another one that if
It's
you ever listen to
hilarious.
Sebastian's stand-ups, he does a lot of stories about his father, and
So
that's kinda what this
is this
is.
really based on his father?
I'm assuming it's loosely based on a lot of his father.
But I mean, you know, older people from other countries.
He's
or
another one he's that
generational
comedian that
whatever.
I had you watch a special where he came out in a tux and he wanted it to be like the old
old
Frank
Hollywood,
Sinatra
yeah.
Hollywood stuff. He's that guy. He's such
This
a
is
funny
funny.
guy.
But this is going to be hilarious. Also coming out in theaters, the
Another
Little Mermaid.
controversial one.
Lots of controversy because you know a mermaid suddenly can't be black. Which okay.
What's funny is I was
mermaids were purple. I thought.
reading the thing with the director, Rob Marshall, I think it is. I was talking about the controversy when she got cast, and he was
Poor
like,
thing.
"I didn't even understand how that was a thing." He goes, "It's such archaic way of thinking of casting something that's like this." He goes, "I didn't think about that. I just cast what I thought was best for the part."
Yeah, I like that we're getting more to the style of casting based on. I think you could do a good job in this role.
I mean,
it's very much like theater.
There are moments where I do have an issue with the casting, whether it's casting a white person, black person, Asian person. It depends on the kind of role. And what I mean by that is the existence of the character. So if you're changing the ethnicity, the race, the
gender,
thank you, of the character for no reason other than to meet the movement, if you will, then it's a problem for me.
But in this, we're talking about mermaids and things. It's like, I'm sure there are all sorts of colors.
You know, if you take Superman and make Superman black, I have a problem with that because there is a character that's Superman that's black.
Yeah.
That you could tell the story with that character. There's no reason to change it.
Correct.
It's like
or Morales.
It's like with Spider-Man. People were there was talks at some point about casting Childish Gambino, Donald Glover as Spider-Man, and people are like, "Oh, you can't do that.
Yeah,
Spider-Man's not black."
He could be
like,
Morales.
Be Miles Morales.
Miles,
Don't pass him as Peter Parker. I'd have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Because the character exists that he should be.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
But
oh well.
If you bring up some random thing like they did that with Annie, they recast it just for no reason other than hey, look, casting, but there's a comic existence. She's part of her known thing is being a redhead with big red eyes and whatever. And it's stupid, but I think you're disrespecting the creator of the character by doing it for no reason. You know, it's like, but like Fantastic Four, for instance, whether you love or hate that movie, when they cast Michael B. Jordan as Human Torch, I did have an issue with it because Sue Storm and Johnny Storm are brother and sister. They changed the story, made them like adopted brother or something. Like, okay, I can deal with that.
There's
I can
an
deal with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It could happen. You know.
But again, too, I feel like the people who are upset about Little Mermaid, you're not even the core audience, buddy. It's for children. No. It's not even you. So get over yourself. Coming to Shudder, the movie Influencer. It's about this girl who's a social media influencer. She goes on a trip to Thailand. Crazy things happen, and she meets a local person, and then
we have Shudder. We can watch it.
We could, because I'm gonna assume something crazy happens.
Well,
she gets taken away by locals.
That's usually what happens.
And they offer to take her somewhere, and
the
they're
banjos.
like, "Oh, it'll be good, and Instagram, and you'll get some followers."
Banjos. It's time to go. You're gonna be sucked into the
because then it says things take a turn, and she ends up in a surprise deserted island, completely off the grid. I'm gonna be telling you right now. Sometimes the locals are super nice and super helpful. Don't travel alone by yourself, especially think a woman by herself. But I mean, when we went to Thailand, everybody's super nice, but we were always together, so nobody was gonna like take us
I
to a
mean,
deserted island.
I traveled alone.
I mean, I did too, but most
Yeah,
of the
but
time
you
we
were going to
together.
like hoity-toity stuff when
I
you
know.
traveled by yourself. I was in the midst of Bangkok
You were.
alone.
I know.
Got hit
All
by a
right.
car and everything.
Also coming to Netflix, a movie called Blood and Gold. It's this guy and his daughter go on a trip, and something happens, and they have to fight for justice. Who knows? When is that?
That is the sequel to Becky.
I know, but is it coming out somewhere?
I have to do the review this week, so we're going to talk about it.
Okay, good. The Wrath of Becky. You need to watch Becky.
Yes, this is the sequel to the awesome movie Becky with Lulu Wilson and what's his name? King of Queens is in the original one.
Yes.
I just went blank. James, John, Jimmy.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, it's him playing a Nazi crazy person and this
Yes.
girl that rises up. So
It's
there's
really
a sequel
good.
that nobody really expected called The Wrath of Becky came out. We'll talk about it next week.
Okay. Coming to Max. Now we're just calling it Max.
Well, it's because they officially rebranded it.
Okay.
It's not just being people shorting it. That's what it's called now.
I just don't. I'm not used to it. It's the new documentary about Mary Tyler Moore. I think it's going to be really interesting. Coming to Disney Plus. Wildlife. It's about some conservationists trying to preserve wild places on Earth. Let's keep going. Video Demand and Digital. Days of Daisy. Daisy spends her life at the school library, and suddenly she's like, "Oh, I'm about to turn 40. Let's see what happens." She needs to change her life. And that's it. Trying to go through it quickly.
My hair is like horribly bad. I just glazed down. I saw this side. Look at that.
I know. That's what
I'm also wearing my look. Did you see I'm wearing my Love and Cape shirt?
Oh, that's nice.
You know what Love and Capes is?
Yes, that comment. I'm wearing a Ray.
If you haven't read the book Love and Capes, you should read it. I got turned on to it by the owner of Urban Legends and Miss Keith, and I kind of became a fan. And the last couple of issues, they did Kickstarter stuff. This was part of one of the Kickstarter campaigns that I supported.
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon. I'm gonna put a link in the thing.
Well, that's volume 1. It's on like volume.
I know, but start your journey here.
Yeah, it's basically
go support them.
It's a story about a man and woman that fall in love, and one of them happens to be like a Superman's type superhero, and it's literally their lives. Yet they fight. He fights villains, but it's not about that. It's about their relationship. So each cycle of the story is like the first one is them meeting and dating and finding out their secret identity and all that stuff. Then it gets into there's all one about them getting married and meeting families. Then it's about them having kids. And then they did one that was all about the year of COVID and them being on lockdown and how he couldn't catch it because of being a superhero, but everybody else could. So could he bring it home and still having to fight? And there's no crime to fight. And what do you do? And there's another series of heroes too that they're dealing with their own things. So it's a great little series.
All right.
Free plug.
There you go.
All because I'm wearing the shirt. So doing giveaways this week. We actually got a bunch of new stuff finally.
Nice.
We've been stuck with some of the originals, and I've been letting them linger. But first up, we've got copies of Shazam! Fury of the Gods, as well as Creed 3.
Yes.
So those are up. Still got a copy of the Superman 1978 to 1987.
The box.
We have the new Donnie Yen directed movie and starring Donnie Yen, Sakura. That looks like a cool martial arts flick. And before you move on, I shared a couple of posters this week. I didn't share the third one because I didn't think about it, but it had been announced. I don't know if you saw them on our post or not, but apparently at one of the, I don't know what this conference was, but one of those where they do a lot of promotions for upcoming films and looking for distributors. I think that's what it was at. It's been announced that Donnie Yen is not only going to star, but direct in Ip Man 5.
Nice. And
he's doing a sequel to Flashpoint, which if you've never seen Flashpoint, it's one of his best martial arts flicks.
Wow.
It's so badass.
Okay.
But apparently he's directing that as well. So he's then there's
very
some other
busy,
movie.
isn't he?
So anyway, but yeah. Then we still got a couple of copies of Champions, as well as the movie Fist of the Condor that we just talked about, which is Marco Zerrar, which if you don't know who that is, first of all, shame on you. But he was recently, you would know him from John Wick Chapter 4.
He's a really big, tall dude.
Yeah, he's the one that's like the henchman to the guy, and they fight in the street. And so I also got to sit down and do another interview, my second interview with him, talk about this movie and martial arts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Make sure you check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com, and click on the contest button for all the free stuff. And find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Hive.
And we will see you next week, peeps.
Peace be with you.
Peace out, dog.